All right, so here we have question number 15 for the January 2017 Common Core Algebra 1 Regents. And this is a pretty straightforward quadratic equation question. Now, generally speaking, when we have a quadratic, we want to get it into the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, because from that we could either factor it or we could insert the values into the quadratic formula to get our answers for x. But in this case, you may notice that in this equation, we don't actually have a b term. There is no value for just x. And since there's only one x squared term, we can actually solve this without doing that. So let's take a look at how we would do that. Start by isolating the x squared term, because if we can isolate the x squared term, we can just square root it. So the first thing I would do here is subtract 13 from both sides. These add to 0. These two add to negative 25. We have negative 36x squared is negative 25, which we can then multiply by negative 1 and just get rid of our negatives. Remember, we can do whatever we want to the equation as long as we do it to both sides. So now we're left with 36x squared is 25. So to continue our process of isolating the x squared, we could divide both sides by 36. Now we're left with x squared is 25 over 36, and to undo the squared, we would square root both sides. Now, in this case, we want to include the positive or the negative value of the square root of 25 over 36, and to show why that is, we can take a look at a really simple example. If I have x squared is equal to 9, there are two values of x that would make that true, both the negative 3 and the positive 3, when we sub it in for x, would make this equation true. So we can do the same thing here. The process doesn't change just because the numbers are not whole numbers per se. We have a fraction, or even if the numbers are irrational, both the positive and the negative square root would still work in this scenario. So here, if I square root x squared, I get x. And we get plus or minus the square root of 25 over 36. Now we have to remember here that there is a bit of a rule from radicals that would allow us to separate the quotient, a over b, into square root of a over the square root of b. So we can then separate this side out into plus or minus rad 25 over rad 36. Radical 25 is 5, and radical 36 is 6. So either the positive value, 5 over 6, or the negative value, negative 5 over 6, works just fine. And that answer is going to be choice 4. Now, as we've discussed in a couple of prior videos here, a couple of prior questions, even on this test, when we get a question that's asking us for the value of x, we can actually just substitute the values in. And you'll note that we could back solve this. And I'm just going to do this for choice number 4 here. We get 13 minus 36 times negative 5 over 6 is equal to negative 12. Because remember, we're looking for the value of x that would make this equation true. Don't forget the squared here as I just did. So we get 13 minus 36. Now we square negative 5/6, and what we get is positive 25 over 36. 36 over 36 here divides to 1. And what we get is 13 minus 25 is negative 12, which is true. If we were to substitute any of the other values, we would not get a true equation. So we can conclude that choice 4 is the only possible answer choice in this case.